I repaired his ship, then the alien queen whispered, "I'm not finished with you, human." The lights above flickered occasionally, and the hum of the energy core was the only sound that kept him company. Ethan liked the quiet. It gave him time to think, to fix machines, and to feel useful in a galaxy that often ignored humans. He was repairing a small cargo shuttle when the alarm sounded. A deep, shaking rumble went through the station, and lights flashed red. Ethan dropped his tools and ran to the observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, he saw a huge shape falling from the sky. A large spacecraft, like nothing he had ever seen, was spiraling down and crashing into the desert beyond the station. Dust and fire erupted from the impact site. Ethan's heart raced. The ship was massive, much bigger than anything humans had built. He grabbed his emergency suit and ran to the landing zone. As he approached, he could see the ship's hull was cracked and scorched. Panels hung loose, and energy sparks flew from broken conduits. A loud hiss of steam escaped from the damaged engines. Ethan's first thought was that no one could have survived. Then he noticed movement near the hull. A figure was crawling out from the wreckage. It was a humanoid shape, but the skin shimmered faintly, like metal under sunlight. The being's uniform was torn, and a glowing emblem marked it as someone of rank. Ethan froze for a moment, then ran to help. "Hold on," Ethan shouted, kneeling beside the wounded alien. "I can help you." The alien's eyes opened slowly, showing fear and pain. It tried to speak, but only a faint, broken sound came out. Ethan lifted the alien carefully, ignoring the burns and cuts. He carried the being back to the station, where he had medical supplies and a small emergency chamber. As he worked to stabilize the alien, he realized how advanced the technology was. The body responded to his basic human treatments, but some injuries required more than he could provide. Ethan had to improvise. "You'll be okay," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if it was true. "Just hang on a little longer." After hours of work, the alien slowly regained consciousness. It looked at Ethan with bright, intelligent eyes and whispered in a language Ethan didn't understand. Somehow he felt the meaning. The alien was grateful but cautious. Ethan nodded and smiled. He did not know if the being could hear him, but he wanted it to know he was friendly. By the time the sun rose over the desert, the alien was awake enough to speak a few words in broken common, a language Ethan had learned from old star maps and trading stations. "Helps, thank," the alien said. Its voice was soft and musical. "Name Lucas." "I'm Ethan," he replied. "Lucas, you're safe now, don't worry." Lucas's eyes flickered toward the sky. He tried to speak again, but pain forced him to stop. Ethan understood. He had saved this being's life, but he had no idea what would happen next. He thought about calling the authorities, but then he remembered. This ship was alien, extremely alien. If anyone found it before Lucas could speak, they might treat him as a threat. Ethan had to act carefully. He worked through the day, repairing small systems in Lucas's suit and body support chamber. He scoured the station for spare parts, old energy cells, and tools that might help. Every time Lucas moved, Ethan could see the pain, but also a quiet patience. Ethan admired it. Lucas was strong even when he was weak. By the evening, the alien began to communicate more clearly. "Thank human, repair ship," he asked. "I can try," Ethan said, "but it's badly damaged. It's not going anywhere without a lot of work." Lucas's eyes widened slightly. Then he nodded. "Repair, yes." Ethan smiled. He had repaired ships before, but never anything like this. The technology was foreign, almost alive in the way it responded to touch. Panels would glow when pressed correctly, and circuits seemed to shift if handled wrong. Ethan had to study everything carefully. He worked late into the night, taking apart consoles and reading alien inscriptions etched into metal. The more he understood, the more he realized how different and advanced this civilization was. Lucas watched silently, sometimes offering instructions with gestures or words Ethan did not know. Despite the language barrier, a rhythm developed between them. Ethan made a move, Lucas nodded. Ethan tried a solution, Lucas tilted his head in approval. It was slow, careful work. Mistakes could be fatal. After 3 days of labor, Ethan managed to get one engine partially online. Sparks flew, alarms rang, but the engine stabilized. Lucas's body support systems also began to work normally. Ethan allowed himself a small smile. He was getting closer. "Good human," Lucas said, the words shaky but sincere. "Trust you." Ethan felt a strange pride. No one had ever trusted him like that before. Not other humans, not superiors, not friends. Here was a being from another world, alive and in his care, trusting him. It was frightening and exciting all at once. On the fourth day, a signal came from the repaired systems. It was weak, but enough to indicate that Lucas's ship could transmit messages. Ethan watched as the consoles blinked, sending signals into space. Moments later, he heard the low hum of engines restarting. The ship was responding to his repairs. Lucas struggled to sit upright. "Ready, leave?" he asked. His voice was still weak, but determination shone through. "Not yet," Ethan said. "You'll fall apart if we move too soon. Let's make sure everything is stable first." They spent another day checking connections, securing power conduits, and stabilizing the hull. Ethan learned more about alien energy systems than he ever imagined possible. Lucas watched, occasionally offering advice in broken common or gestures. Each time Ethan tried something new, Lucas's eyes glowed with quiet approval. Finally, on the fifth day, the ship was stable. Engines hummed smoothly and the hull's temperature balanced. Ethan stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. Lucas's suit sealed perfectly, life support running without interruption. "Human, thank you," Lucas said. "Life saved." Ethan nodded. "I'm glad. You deserve a second chance." For a moment, they sat in silence. The desert winds howled outside, but inside there was only relief. Ethan realized that something extraordinary had happened. He had fixed an alien ship, saved a life, and gained a being's trust. The galaxy outside felt suddenly larger, more alive. Then the sound of approaching ships broke the quiet. Ethan turned to the horizon and saw sleek black vessels descending. They were unlike any human ships, and their formation was precise, almost ceremonial. Lucas stiffened. "They come," he said, voice tense. "Queen arrives." Ethan's stomach sank. He had saved Lucas's life, but now the alien empire would arrive. He did not know if they would reward him or punish him for touching their technology. The ships landed gracefully, their doors opening to reveal tall, armored figures. They moved with precision, scanning the area until their eyes fell on Ethan. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Her armor shimmered with energy, and her presence seemed to command respect. Lucas's body relaxed slightly in her presence, but his expression was cautious. "Who is this human?" the tall figure demanded. Her voice was clear, commanding, yet there was a hint of curiosity. I repaired the ship," Ethan said, his voice steady despite fear. "I saved Lucas." "That's all?" The alien studied him carefully. Then she turned to Lucas. "He repaired the vessel?" Lucas nodded. "Yes, human skilled." The tall figure's eyes glowed briefly. She looked at Ethan again, and this time there was a smile, almost imperceptible, but there. "Bring him to the palace," she said. "The queen wishes to see him." Ethan's heart pounded. He had never been to an alien palace before. He had never imagined meeting a queen of a powerful empire. Yet here he was, about to step into a world entirely foreign, carrying knowledge and skill that could change how aliens saw humans. As Ethan followed the armored escort, Lucas whispered, "Trust, Queen, careful." Ethan nodded. He did not fully understand what was coming, but he knew one thing. This was only the beginning. The universe had opened a door to him, and there was no turning back. The desert faded behind them as the ships lifted and carried them toward the heart of the alien empire. Ethan looked at Lucas, who was finally standing without support, and felt a strange bond. They had survived impossible odds together. And soon, he would learn that survival alone was not enough in a galaxy ruled by an alien queen who was far from finished with him. Ethan Cole stepped off the transport shuttle and onto the smooth, glowing floors of the alien palace. He had never seen anything like it. The walls shimmered faintly, as if alive, and lights floated without visible fixtures. The air smelled clean and slightly sweet, with a hint of something metallic. Everywhere he looked, alien guards moved with perfect precision, their eyes glowing softly as they watched him. Ethan tried to stay calm, but his heart raced. Lucas Gray followed close behind, walking with a steadiness that made Ethan feel both reassured and nervous. Lucas had clearly been here before, or at least knew the customs. Every so often he glanced at Ethan, as if warning him silently to be careful. Ethan nodded each time, unsure what he was supposed to do, but trusting Lucas's instincts. They entered a large chamber where more aliens waited. Some were sitting on elevated platforms, others standing. Their uniforms were unlike anything Ethan had seen. Sleek, glowing lines traced across armor, and each bore symbols that seemed to communicate rank. The aliens spoke among themselves in a language Ethan could not understand. Even though he could not know their words, he felt their scrutiny. Every move he made was measured, observed, judged. Finally, a figure emerged from a door at the far end of the chamber. Ethan froze. The queen, she was taller than any human he had ever seen, with pale, iridescent skin that seemed to glow faintly. Her hair floated slightly, as if weightless, and her eyes were deep, dark pools that seemed to see everything. She moved with grace, yet there was a strength in her step that made the room fall silent. Lucas bowed slightly, and Ethan followed, unsure how far he should go. The queen stopped before them, tilting her head as she studied Ethan. Her gaze was sharp, yet not hostile. "You are the human who repaired the vessel?" she asked in broken common. Her voice was soft, musical, yet carried authority. "Yes, your majesty," Ethan replied. He tried to keep his voice steady. "I repaired the ship and helped Lucas survive, that is all." The queen's eyes lingered on him. "All?" she asked. "You did this alone?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, I had no help, I just worked." She smiled faintly, almost like a human would. "Humans are interesting." She paused, then looked at Lucas. "You trusted him." Lucas bowed his head slightly. "Yes, your majesty, he saved my life." The queen turned back to Ethan. "You are brave, careless perhaps, but brave." She stepped closer. Ethan felt the weight of her attention, a mix of curiosity, authority, and something he could not name. "We will see," she said softly, almost a whisper, "if you are useful." A hush fell over the chamber. Ethan realized that he had just become part of something far larger than he understood. He was not a prisoner, at least not yet, but he was no longer free. The aliens waited for the queen's next words. "Bring him to the quarters," she said finally. "He will remain under observation." Ethan followed the guards silently, Lucas at his side. The quarters were large and minimal, with soft lighting and a bed that seemed to float above the floor. There were devices he did not recognize along the walls and panels that glowed with unknown symbols. Ethan touched one lightly, and it hummed under his hand. He stepped back quickly, realizing how strange and advanced this place was. Lucas spoke quietly. "They do not harm easily, yet Queen is testing you." "Testing?" Ethan asked, frowning. Lucas nodded. "Yes, this is how they know who is strong, who is clever. You passed first test by saving me. Next is harder." Ethan swallowed. He had already survived a crash, repaired an alien ship, and faced a queen. He wondered how much harder the next test could be. Over the next days, Ethan was introduced to the palace's systems. He saw enormous engines, glowing power cores, and weapons far beyond human technology. He was given small tasks at first: repair a damaged console, stabilize a minor energy flow, but each task grew more complex. The alien engineers watched him, often whispering to each other, amazed at his methods. Ethan noticed that their way of thinking was different. They worked with energy and matter in ways humans did not. Yet Ethan's practical approach often solved problems faster than their advanced calculations. One day, as he was adjusting a power conduit, a group of alien nobles entered the room. They were tall, armored, and their expressions were sharp. They studied Ethan with obvious suspicion. "This human," one said, voice harsh, "claims he understands systems centuries ahead of our design." Ethan straightened. "I do not claim, I fix what is broken, that is all." The nobles exchanged looks, clearly skeptical. Ethan knew he was in their court now. Any misstep could be dangerous, but he remained calm. He had learned quickly that fear would only make things worse. Lucas stayed close, offering small glances of support. That night, Ethan sat on the edge of the floating bed, staring at the glowing walls. Lucas entered quietly. "You are learning fast," Lucas said. "Queen watches, she is impressed. Humans different from what she expected." "Different good or different bad?" Ethan asked. Lucas smiled faintly. "Both. Humans survive when others fail. Humans think in ways aliens do not. She likes that." Ethan nodded. He realized that he had become more than a guest or a repairman. He was a symbol, proof that humans could stand on equal ground with alien races that had ruled for centuries. It was exciting and terrifying. The next day, Ethan faced his first true test. An energy conduit in the central palace core was unstable. Alien engineers could not stabilize it without risking a system-wide shutdown. Ethan examined the glowing panels, touching the energy flows with careful hands. He traced the circuits, adjusted the conduits, and rerouted power in ways he had learned from his own human engineering. Sparks flew, alarms rang, but slowly the conduit stabilized. The room went silent. The alien engineers watched in awe, whispering to each other. Lucas grinned. Ethan felt a surge of pride, but also fear. The more he succeeded, the more he attracted attention. And in this empire, attention could be dangerous. That evening, Queen Alira entered the room quietly, observing Ethan without speaking. She moved closer, tilting her head as she watched him inspect a device. Ethan froze. He had not heard her approach. "You have skill," she said softly, "but skill alone is not enough, do you understand?" "I think I can learn," Ethan replied. He did not know what else to say. Learning is not enough. "You must survive where others fail." Her eyes glowed faintly, and Ethan felt the weight of her gaze. "You have courage, humans interesting creatures. You may yet change my mind about your kind." Ethan swallowed. He did not know whether to feel honored or afraid. He nodded. Over the following weeks, Ethan continued to repair and improve systems in the palace. He stabilized weapons, repaired energy conduits, and helped prevent accidents. Alien nobles whispered in the halls, noting that a human was performing feats their best engineers struggled with. Ethan realized that his simple, human approach, careful observation, trial and error, and courage, was unusual in a civilization that relied on highly advanced calculations and rigid procedures. Lucas often warned him quietly, "Queen watches, always. Do not let pride blind you. She tests not just skill, but mind and heart." Ethan listened, knowing that every action mattered. He had learned quickly that in this empire, intelligence alone was not enough. Understanding culture, reading subtle signs, and knowing when to act were equally important. One day, a small group of alien nobles challenged Ethan directly. They presented a problem, a failing weapon system, and expected him to fail. The room was tense, whispers filling the air. Ethan examined the system, thinking carefully. He used his knowledge, adjusted the circuits, and bypassed the faulty systems. Within hours, the weapon stabilized and functioned perfectly. The nobles stared, some in disbelief, some in grudging respect. Ethan felt a small thrill, but also a deep caution. He had impressed them, but he had also painted a target on his back. In the alien empire, admiration and suspicion often walked together. That night, Lucas joined him in the quarters. "You are stronger than I thought," he said, "but Queen Shi is not finished with you. Humans can surprise her, and she likes surprises." Ethan nodded, thinking about the strange bond forming between him and this alien ruler. He realized that he was no longer just a human repairman. He had become part of something larger, a story of courage, skill, and survival that might change the way humans were seen in the galaxy. As he lay down on the glowing bed, Ethan wondered what challenges lay ahead. The Queen had spoken softly, almost like a whisper, that she was not finished with him. He did not yet understand what she meant, but he knew one thing. Life in this alien empire would be dangerous, unpredictable, and extraordinary. And for the first time, Ethan felt a strange excitement. He was not just surviving, he was part of history in the making. Ethan Cole woke early, as usual. The palace was quiet, the halls empty except for the soft hum of energy flowing through the walls. He stretched and looked out through the tall windows at the glowing city below. Even after weeks in the Empire, he still felt a mix of awe and fear. The alien civilization was advanced beyond his imagination, and every day brought new challenges. Lucas Gray appeared at the door. "Time to work," he said softly. Ethan nodded. They walked through the palace corridors together. Lucas moved with purpose, familiar with every turn, every guard post. Ethan followed closely, trying to memorize the paths. The Queen's presence was never far, even if she was not seen. Ethan had learned that she watched silently, often waiting until he acted before showing herself. Today, they were to inspect the royal armory. The palace engineers had detected unusual fluctuations in the energy shields around the weapon platforms. Ethan had repaired smaller systems before, but these shields were massive, powered by cores he did not yet understand. He felt nervous, but he also felt ready. He had grown more confident in his human methods, and Lucas trusted him. As they entered the armory, Ethan noticed the alien nobles gathered around, whispering and exchanging glances. They looked at him with curiosity and suspicion. Ethan ignored them. He focused on the humming shield panels and the glowing energy conduits. He knelt, placing his hands carefully on the interfaces. His fingers felt the vibration of energy, like an invisible current flowing through his skin. "This is unstable," Ethan murmured. "The energy loop is misaligned. If it fails, the entire platform could shut down." One of the nobles laughed softly. Human thinks he understands centuries of technology in hours. Ethan did not answer. He studied the panels, tracing circuits with his fingers, rerouting energy flows, and adjusting power regulators. Sparks flew, and a low alarm rang through the chamber. The nobles tensed. Lucas placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, steadying him. "Keep going," Lucas whispered. Ethan worked quickly but carefully. Every adjustment had to be precise. If he made a mistake, the shields could collapse and injure everyone in the room. Hours passed, but finally the energy stabilized. The shields hummed smoothly, glowing brighter than before. Ethan stepped back, breathing heavily. The nobles stared. One of them approached and touched the panels, confirming the readings. He turned to the others, his face showing surprise. "HE did it," he said quietly. Ethan felt a small thrill of pride, but Lucas warned him softly. "Do not celebrate yet. Queen tests more than skill. She tests mind and heart." Before Ethan could ask what Lucas meant, a loud alarm sounded. The palace shuddered. The main gates flashed red. Ethan and Lucas ran to the control room, where engineers were shouting and pointing at holographic screens. Alien ships were approaching the Empire from the outer borders. Their formations were vast, far larger than any human fleet. The Empire was under attack. Lucas turned to Ethan. "This is no small raid. It is an organized strike. Ancient enemy very dangerous. Queen will need your help." Ethan swallowed. He had never fought in a real battle. Humans were skilled, but he had only survived crashes and repairs. Now he was expected to help defend an entire alien empire. Queen Alira entered the control room, moving with calm authority. Her eyes glowed faintly as she surveyed the situation. "They have come," she said softly. "You will see, human, if you can think as we do or fail." Ethan looked at the approaching fleet on the holographic display. Hundreds of ships moved in precise formations, firing energy pulses. Alien defense fleets scrambled, but the numbers were overwhelming. Ethan realized the Empire could lose this battle without quick thinking. "We need a strategy," Ethan said. "One that uses their approach against them. I can modify the energy shields, redirect the weapons, use human tactics." Lucas's eyes widened slightly. "You dare suggest human tactics in battle?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. If we follow traditional methods, we will be destroyed. But if we change the approach, use unexpected moves, we have a chance." The Queen studied him silently, then she nodded. "Show me." Ethan moved to a control panel. He traced the energy flows, rerouted power to weapons, and set shields to pulse at intervals that would confuse the enemy targeting systems. He worked quickly, improvising with materials he barely understood, but relying on human logic and creativity. Lucas and a few trusted engineers assisted, following his directions. Hours passed. The enemy fleet approached the capital world. Alarms rang and shields glowed under pressure. Ethan adjusted, rerouted, and stabilized. The human tactics worked differently than alien methods, creating gaps in the enemy's formation and giving the defenders a chance to strike. Then the Queen spoke. "Now, human, take control of a small strike force. You will lead them against the enemy's flank." Ethan froze. Lead a strike, humans had not been part of this empire before, yet he felt a surge of courage. He nodded. "I will do it." He was placed aboard a small fleet vessel with Lucas and several alien pilots. The engines roared to life and they flew toward the enemy formation. Ethan issued orders, combining human tactics with alien technology. The alien pilots followed, at first skeptical, then increasingly impressed by his decisions. As they approached the enemy, Ethan noticed patterns in their movement. The ships were powerful but rigid. He directed his small strike team to use unpredictable maneuvers, weaving through gaps and targeting weak points. Energy pulses struck enemy vessels, causing confusion and disarray. The alien fleet joined in, following Ethan's lead. The battle raged for hours. Explosions lit the void of space, debris floated like stars, and alarms rang continuously. Ethan's hands moved quickly over the controls, issuing commands, calculating risks, and saving lives. Alien ships that had been damaged were stabilized using his methods. Human tactics combined with alien technology turned the tide. Finally, the enemy fleet began to retreat. The Empire's forces had won, thanks to the human who had repaired a ship and now led a critical battle. Ethan exhaled, exhausted and exhilarated. Lucas clapped him on the shoulder. "You did it," he said. Ethan looked around. The destruction was heavy, but the Empire had survived. The Queen's fleet was intact and alien civilians were safe. He had never imagined humans could stand in the stars against such forces, yet here he was doing just that. Later, back at the palace, the Queen met Ethan privately. She studied him carefully, her eyes glowing. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown courage, intelligence, and the ability to act when others would freeze. Humans may be more than I thought," Ethan bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty, I only did what I could." "No," she said softly, stepping closer. "You did more. You showed me that humans have a place among us, but remember, this is only beginning. I am not finished with you. There is much to learn and many tests ahead." Ethan felt a chill, but also a strange pride. He had survived a crash, repaired an alien ship, stabilized palace systems, and helped win a battle against overwhelming odds. Yet the Queen's words reminded him that survival alone was not enough. There was more to come. Lucas appeared at the door. "Queen, she speaks truth. Humans are unexpected, and she watches always. You must continue to learn, continue to adapt." Ethan nodded. He realized that he was now part of a story larger than himself. Humans had been underestimated in the galaxy, and he had the chance to prove what they could do. The Queen's empire was vast and ancient, but human courage and ingenuity had already made a difference. As night fell, Ethan looked out at the glowing city from the palace windows. Ships moved above the planet like stars, patrols keeping the peace. He thought about the battles ahead, the tests he would face, and the responsibility he now carried. Lucas sat beside him quietly. "You are ready," Lucas said softly. "Not all humans could do what you did, but you are learning fast. Queen will see your mind is as strong as your hands." Ethan smiled faintly. He felt exhaustion, but also determination. The galaxy was dangerous, full of enemies and ancient powers, but he had survived this far. And he knew one thing: human courage, simple thinking, and persistence could stand against even the greatest challenges. And Queen Alirashi was not finished with him. Ethan Cole woke to the sound of alarms. The palace trembled slightly beneath him. Outside, the sky glowed with the engines of a massive fleet approaching the Empire. This was no small raid. This was a full-scale invasion. Alien commanders shouted orders, and engineers rushed through corridors, adjusting shields and weapons. Lucas Gray appeared beside Ethan, his expression tense. "This is worse than before," Lucas said. "Ancient enemy, hundreds of ships, faster, stronger. Queen will need all help. Humans can change outcome." Ethan's heart pounded. He had led a small strike before, but this was different. This was the survival of the Empire itself. He swallowed and nodded. "Then we fight. We find a way." They ran to the command center. Holographic displays showed the enemy fleet forming outside the capital world. Massive cruisers, dozens of destroyers, and energy bombers moved in formation. The Empire's defense fleets scrambled to intercept, but their numbers were smaller. Ethan studied the displays. Patterns emerged in the enemy formation. Rigid, predictable patterns. Human tactics could exploit that. "Queen will watch," Lucas whispered. "Every move careful." Ethan nodded. He moved to the console, tracing the energy flows of the capital world's defenses. He adjusted the shield grids, rerouted power to weapons, and modified targeting systems to anticipate enemy movement. The alien engineers watched, whispering in awe. Human ingenuity was blending with alien technology. Then the Queen entered, her presence calm but powerful. She studied Ethan as he worked. "You think you can save us?" she asked softly. "I can try," Ethan said. "If we use their weaknesses, unexpected moves, we have a chance." The Queen's eyes glowed faintly. "Do it. Human lead. Show what humans can do." Ethan took a deep breath. He was given command of a squadron of elite alien ships, piloted by skilled soldiers who had never taken orders from a human. He briefed them quickly. "We will strike their flank. They expect standard tactics. We will be unpredictable. Stay together, follow my lead." The squadron moved out. Ethan's hands flew over the controls, adjusting formations, shield pulses, and weapon timing. Lucas and a few trusted engineers assisted remotely, stabilizing the systems as the battle began. The enemy fleet engaged. Energy blasts lit the void, shields flared, and debris floated like deadly stars. Ethan's squadron moved in ways the enemy did not expect, weaving through gaps, striking weak points, and creating confusion. Alien pilots who had been skeptical began to follow his commands with trust. Hours passed. The battle raged. Enemy ships attempted to regroup, but Ethan anticipated their moves, adjusting shields, redirecting energy, and coordinating attacks. Alien cruisers that had been damaged were repaired mid-battle using his improvised methods. Every move required careful thinking, quick reaction, and courage. At one point, a massive enemy cruiser charged toward the capital world. Traditional tactics would have failed. Ethan calculated the risk and redirected power from multiple shield arrays to create a focused energy barrier. The cruiser slammed into the barrier and was destroyed. The alien fleet cheered silently over comms. Ethan felt a surge of relief, but he did not pause. The battle was far from over. More enemy waves approached. Ethan led smaller strike groups, combining human improvisation with alien precision. Ships moved in patterns that no alien commander would have thought, striking enemy lines and pulling them into traps. Alien fleets followed his instructions, surprised at the effectiveness of a human strategy. Queen Alira watched from the palace. Her eyes glowed softly as she observed Ethan coordinating the battle. She had seen many humans, many species, but none had impressed her like this. Courage, intelligence, adaptability, all combined in one human. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "You are not finished, human. You may yet change the galaxy." Hours turned into a full day. The enemy fleet began to falter. Ships were destroyed, formations broken, and morale dropping. Ethan's combination of human tactics and alien technology had turned the tide. The capital world was safe. Civilians and soldiers cheered quietly in relief, though the battle was far from completely over. Finally, the enemy retreated. The Empire's fleets regrouped. The palace was filled with relief, though engineers and commanders were exhausted. Ethan slumped in the control chair, sweat on his brow, body trembling from exhaustion. Lucas appeared beside him. "You saved us," Lucas said, his voice filled with respect. "Humans can do what aliens cannot." Ethan shook his head. "We all did it, aliens, humans, together." Later, Queen Alira met Ethan privately. Her presence was calm, yet powerful. "You have done more than any human has before. You have saved my empire, shown courage, and used your mind in ways I did not expect. Humans are not weak. They are strong, clever, brave." Ethan bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I just did what I could." "No," she said softly, stepping closer. "You did more. You remind me that hope exists. That courage can change fate. But remember, I am not finished with you. Your journey has only begun." Ethan swallowed. He realized she was right. Surviving the crash, repairing the ship, leading battles, it had all been part of the tests, and there were more ahead. Lucas appeared at the door. "Queen, she speaks truth. Humans are unpredictable, and she watches always. You must continue to learn, continue to adapt." Ethan nodded. He felt exhaustion, but also determination. He had faced impossible odds, saved lives, and changed the course of a battle. The Queen's words reminded him that his path was far from over. The Empire needed him, the galaxy watched, and he was learning what it truly meant to be human in a universe that had underestimated his kind. As night fell over the capital world, Ethan looked out from the palace windows. The battle was over, but the stars beyond the city sparkled with danger, opportunity, and unknown threats. He thought about the challenges ahead, about his place in this alien empire, and about the future of humans in the galaxy. Lucas sat beside him quietly. "You are ready," he said. "Not all humans could do what you did, but you are learning fast. Queen will see your mind is as strong as your hands. Humans can survive anything if they think and act." Ethan smiled faintly. He felt pride, courage, and responsibility all at once. The Queen had said she was not finished with him, and he knew she meant it. There were more challenges, more tests, more battles ahead. Yet, for the first time, Ethan felt that he could meet them. Humans had been underestimated, and he was proving what they could do. And in the silence of the palace, the stars beyond, and the distant hum of alien engines, Ethan understood one thing clearly. Survival was not enough. Humans had the power to change the galaxy, and he had just begun. Ethan Cole walked through the palace corridors, feeling the weight of the past weeks pressing on him. He had repaired a crashed alien ship, survived the scrutiny of an entire alien empire, and helped lead a battle that saved the capital world. Yet, even with all of that behind him, he knew the Queen's words still echoed in his mind. She was not finished with him. Lucas Gray joined him silently. "Queen, she will speak with you soon. Be ready. She tests more than skill, mind, heart, courage. She watches everything." Ethan nodded. He had learned to trust Lucas to follow his guidance in this strange alien empire. Together they entered the throne chamber. The queen waited, sitting on a raised platform that glowed faintly beneath her. Her presence filled the room. Ethan felt a mixture of fear and awe. He had seen her before, but now, after all he had done, he sensed something more, a respect, maybe even curiosity. "Human," the queen said softly, "you have changed much in a short time. You have repaired what was broken, led when others faltered, and survived what would have destroyed most. I watch you closely." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Ethan replied. He bowed slightly. "I only did what I could. I never expected this." "This is not the end," the queen said. "It is a beginning. Humans are not like others. You think differently, act boldly, survive when others fail. It is rare, valuable." She studied him quietly. Ethan felt her gaze weigh on him, as if measuring every thought, every intention. "What do you want from me?" Ethan asked, his voice steady but cautious. The queen rose gracefully. Her eyes glowed faintly. "I want your choice. You may leave and return to your world, forget this empire and its people. Or you may stay not as a servant, not as a tool, but as a partner. Humans have potential I have rarely seen. You could help shape the future of this galaxy." Ethan felt a shock. He had never imagined being offered such a role, especially by an alien queen. He glanced at Lucas, who gave a small nod of encouragement. Ethan thought about the journey he had taken, from a quiet maintenance bay on a frontier station to the center of an alien empire. He thought about the people he had helped, the battles he had faced, and the knowledge he had gained. I don't know," Ethan said honestly. "I have never been part of something this big." "That is why it matters," the queen said softly. "Humans think in ways others cannot. You see solutions where others see obstacles. Courage, cleverness, survival, these are your strengths. You may guide us, teach us, help us grow, and in return you will be respected, valued, trusted." Ethan paused. He felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had survived impossible odds, and he had proven humans could stand among the stars as equals. But choosing to stay meant leaving the life he had known behind forever. Yet he realized something. Humans had always been underestimated, and this was his chance to prove their worth on a galactic scale. I will stay," Ethan said finally. "I want to help. I want to learn and do my part." The queen smiled faintly, a gesture that seemed almost human. "Good. Then you are no longer just a visitor. You are part of this empire, not as a tool, but as a human who can change what is possible. Your journey is just beginning." Ethan felt a sense of pride and responsibility wash over him. He was no longer alone. Humans had a place in this vast galaxy, and he would help secure it. He looked at Lucas, who smiled with quiet approval. Ethan felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. In the days that followed, Ethan was given a new role. He worked closely with alien engineers, learning advanced systems, stabilizing weapon platforms, and improving the palace defenses. He also trained with the Empire's strike forces, teaching human tactics that had already proven successful in battle. Alien pilots and soldiers listened and adapted, surprised at how effective these simple but bold methods were. Ethan's presence began to change the palace. Nobles whispered about the human who could repair, fight, and lead. Some were skeptical, others fascinated. The queen's favor shielded him from most criticism, but he still felt the weight of every decision. Mistakes could be deadly in this empire, but success could inspire generations. One evening, the queen invited Ethan to walk with her in the palace gardens. Bioluminescent plants glowed softly, and the sky above shimmered with distant stars and the quiet hum of passing ships. Ethan walked carefully, aware of her gaze and the significance of this invitation. "You have done well," she said softly. "Humans rarely survive as long as you have in this world, and yet you have skill, courage, adaptation. You understand more than I expected." "I've learned from you too," Ethan said. "From Lucas, from the Empire, from the challenges. Everything has taught me how much humans can grow when given a chance." The queen's eyes softened slightly. "And that is why I am not finished with you. Humans can shape more than one world. They can change history. You can do this. If you choose, we will work together, humans and aliens side by side." Ethan nodded, feeling determination settle within him. He had faced impossible odds, and he had survived. Now he could make a difference, not just for himself, but for the Empire and for humans everywhere. The following weeks were filled with training, planning, and work. Ethan adapted to the alien culture, learned advanced technology, and helped improve defenses across the Empire. He trained human tactics to alien pilots, stabilized failing systems, and even mediated disputes between alien nobles who disagreed on strategy. His influence grew quietly but steadily, earning him respect and trust. Lucas often reminded him, "Queen watches always. Your actions matter. Humans are unexpected. You must continue to grow." Ethan agreed. He had learned that courage alone was not enough. Intelligence, patience, and understanding were equally important. He had faced death, chaos, and doubt, but he had survived because he trusted himself and others. Now he would continue to survive and thrive, not just as a human, but as someone who could shape the Empire's future. One day, the Queen called Ethan to the command hall. Holographic maps showed regions of space previously unexplored, areas where alien colonies were in danger and fleets that required reorganization. She turned to him. "Human, I have another task," she said. "These regions are unstable. Threats rise where our fleets cannot reach. You will lead missions to stabilize them. Humans are adaptable. You will find solutions." Ethan studied the maps. It was daunting, but he felt ready. He had learned to trust his instincts, rely on his skills, and work with allies. He nodded. "I will do it." "Good," the Queen said softly. "And remember, I am not finished with you. Every challenge, every test, you will grow stronger. Humans can be more than I imagined, and you will prove it." Ethan left the command hall with Lucas at his side. The galaxy stretched before him, full of danger, opportunity, and discovery. He realized how far he had come, from a human engineer on a remote frontier station to a trusted figure in an alien empire. Humans had survived, thrived, and now had a place among the stars. As they looked out over the glowing capital world, Ethan felt a sense of purpose. He had chosen to stay, to fight, to grow, and to help an entire civilization. He understood the Queen's words now. She was not finished with him because humans, like him, were not finished. They could learn, adapt, and change the course of history. That night, as he rested in the palace, Ethan thought about the journey that had brought him here. The crashed ship, the repairs, the battles, the tests, all had led to this moment. He was no longer just surviving. He was part of something larger. Humans had a future among the stars, and he would help shape it. Lucas sat quietly beside him. "You did well," he said softly. "Humans can survive anything, and you have proven it." Ethan smiled. He felt pride, courage, and hope. He had faced impossible odds, won battles, and earned the trust of a powerful alien queen. The journey was far from over, but he was ready. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown threats and opportunities, but humans could face it. They could survive. They could thrive. And Queen Alira had whispered the truth. She was not finished with him. And Ethan knew in his heart that this was only the beginning of a story that would span the stars. The stars outside glowed brightly, reflecting in Ethan's eyes. He thought of humanity, courage, and the path ahead. Humans had been underestimated for too long. Now he would show the galaxy what they could do. And together with the Queen, Lucas, and the Empire, they would face the future, undaunted, brave, and ready. For the first time, Ethan truly understood that humans could belong among the stars. Not as servants, not as outsiders, but as equals, capable of shaping destinies. And he, Ethan Cole, had chosen to be part of that destiny. And so, the human who had repaired a crashed alien ship, survived impossible challenges, and faced a queen's scrutiny, now stood ready to shape the galaxy alongside allies he had grown to trust. The universe was vast, the stars countless, and his story, humanity's story, was just beginning.